There are strange realms of the cosmos that will never be fully understood until we find a unified theory. And nowhere is this more evident than in the depths of a black hole. A German astronomer named Karl Schwarzschild first proposed what we now call black holes in 1916. While stationed on the front lines in World War I, he solved the equations of Einstein's general relativity in a new and puzzling way. Between calculations of artillery trajectories, Schwarzschild figured out that an enormous amount of mass, like that of a very dense star, concentrated in a small area, would warp the fabric of space-time so severely that nothing, not even light, could escape its gravitational pull. For decades, physicists were skeptical that Schwarzschild's calculations were anything more than theory. But today, satellite telescopes probing deep into space are discovering regions with enormous gravitational pull that most scientists believe are black holes. Schwarzschild's theory now seems to be reality. So, here's the question. If you're trying to figure out what happens in the depths of a black hole, where an entire star is crushed to a tiny speck, do you use general relativity because the star is incredibly heavy, or quantum mechanics because it's incredibly tiny? Well, that's the problem. Since the center of a black hole is both tiny and heavy, you can't avoid using both theories at the same time. And when we try to put the two theories together in the realm of black holes, they conflict, it breaks down. They give nonsensical predictions, and the universe is not nonsensical. It's got to make sense.
Quantum mechanics works really well for small things, and general relativity works really well for stars and galaxies. But the atoms, the small things, and the galaxies, they're part of the same universe. So there has to be some description that applies to everything. So we can't have one description for atoms and one for stars.
Now, with string theory, we think we may have found a way to unite our theory of the large and our theory of the small and make sense of the universe at all scales and all places. Instead of a multitude of tiny particles, string theory proclaims that everything in the universe, all forces and all matter, is made of one single ingredient, tiny, vibrating strands of energy known as strings.
A string can wiggle in many different ways, whereas, of course, a point can't. And the different ways in which the string wiggles represent the different kinds of elementary particles.
It's like a violin string, and it can vibrate, just like violin strings can vibrate. Each note, if you like, describes a different particle.
So it has incredible unification power. It unifies our understanding of all these different kinds of particles.
So unity of the different forces and particles is achieved because they all come from different kinds of vibrations of the same basic string.
It's a simple idea with far-reaching consequences.
What string theory does is it holds out the promise that, look, we can really understand questions that you might not even have thought were scientific questions. Questions about how the universe began, why the universe is the way it is at the most fundamental level. The idea that a scientific theory that we already have in our hands could answer the most basic questions is extremely seductive.
But this seductive new theory is also controversial. Strings, if they exist, are so small, there's little hope of ever seeing one.
String theory and string theorists do have